Hello friends and welcome back to another video here on the Video Hard channel. It has been a while because I haven't had time. Whimsy is making a racket back there. She is not in a good mood because she does not like the cage being closed. But she was being a punk. She was being annoying. Also, I have this annoying from shaving. I don't know how people shave. I don't know how it's done. I don't understand it. Anyway, welcome to another thinking chair video, aka Vinny Harned says stuff out of his face and refers to himself in the third person today, bros. I thought we might talk about cancel culture. What is it? Who owns it? Who controls it? Is it those dang liberals again? Can't be having them dang liberals. They tick me off so much. Shut up. Cancel culture is kind of a weird thing, right? Like, am I the only one that kind of sees it like that? Like, I'm not the kind. I don't necessarily agree with comedians who are just like, oh, the problem is people get too offended these days, as if somehow this is anything new. You know, before we called it PC-ness. Oh, you gotta be politically correct. You can't say things that ain't PC. Before that, it was religion. Oh, you can't say anything about religion. You can't question Christianity. Oh, nobody expects a Spanish Inquisition. You know, it changed guard. You know, before we had the religious people, now we have the politically correct cancel culture people. And honestly, it kind of reminded me of a conversation I had, sort of, with someone I was working with. I mentioned we were talking about things like 12-step program in addiction, and how so much of it relies on religion in the 12-step programs. And I mentioned that I didn't think that excluding people who lacked faith was very good. He said that he didn't think that most people could be atheists. And while I didn't necessarily agree with that, you know, I typically consider religion to be something that's introduced to you from a young age, and then it just kind of comes to you naturally after that because you've been infused with it. However, it did make me think about how a lot of people have said that now that God is dead, per se, it's not that people won't believe in anything, but that they will believe in anything. In other words, instead of putting our faith into a deity, into a religion, into a set of practices, instead, people tend to put their belief in whatever they come across that they can, put a little bit of faith in, whether that is politics, seems like a massive one, and even cancel culture or PC-ness can in a way be its own kind of cultish religion. These days I consider myself a free thinker first and foremost, and I think that's more than anything is where I find my criticism of cancel culture to come in. You know, I see a lot of things recently. For instance, there was a Trump ad, good old Trump ad on YouTube saying, oh, Joe Biden will cancel you. And before that we had Obama coming out giving this actually very well grounded speech on YouTube about the problems of cancel culture and how it's counterproductive, and made me wonder how I ever thought he was the Antichrist. But in that sense, I don't think anyone really owns cancel culture. It seems to be its own thing. Like, it's not a leftist thing, it's not a right thing. It seems like it's not necessarily somewhere in the middle. I guess someone could argue that it's maybe far left, kind of a neoliberalism. Definitely PC culture spawned from a lot of neoliberalism ideas, which sort of, rather than try to improve society's problems, just took them and gave them a nice pretty coat of paint and called them PC. People get upset and try to track down anyone who said anything racially motivated, racially charged, anything racy or edgy or bad or anything on the internet that really doesn't do anything for the people who actually struggle with racism. It doesn't do anything to get rid of the systems of oppression. Rather, it makes it look like you really care about stuff, and it puts social change inside kind of a little box. Like, oh, good, now we got it all boxed up and good and healthy, and we don't need to worry about it no more. The question, of course, would come up as you're kind of looking into this thing. Should we just not worry about what people says? Should we just allow anything? And half of me would say, yeah. I know that may sound like a slippery slope to some people, but having thought of myself more of a free thinker these days, I find that ideas need other ideas in order for them to thrive. You can't have an idea and have it be the only idea available and have it really catch on. You need conflicting ideas in order for the system to work. That's why I find it incredibly annoying when people want to completely get rid of, conservative thought. They want to get rid of anything that doesn't align with their belief. In the same way, Republicans, you always hear, conservatives on Facebook talking about how we need to go out and shoot the Democrats to get rid of them. They say, oh, these Democrats are so bad, we gotta get rid of them. And really, that in itself is also a part of cancel culture. In fact, probably if you clicked on this video and were excited to hear me talk about cancel culture, you're probably feeding into cancel culture, because it really is just fed by people's constant need to have something to get behind. Humans no longer have, as a society, a bad guy that we're fighting against. Now that religion has been taken out of so many things, we no longer have, your Satan archetypes. You no longer have, the evil inside of humanity that must be destroyed. Instead, everything has become a lot more nuanced, and things are a lot less binary. We don't think of things as pure good and evil, so now we're looking for a new bad guy to stand up against. And I think that in a way cancel culture is part of that, in that we need something to fight against, and there aren't no wars going on, so instead we create our own camps and kind of fight against them. So what do we do with this thing? What do we do with cancel culture? In my opinion, I'm not supposed to give my opinion, but if it were up to me, if you were asking for my advice, I would say when you find someone, whether it's on the internet or in real life, and you find out that they have an opinion which either slightly or wildly differs from your own, you have two options of what you can do. You can go all out and say, oh, this person is completely bad because they believe something that I don't, and I don't like it one bit. Or you can try to understand them. Rather than seeing a Trump supporter on Facebook, instead of me going, oh, they're so bad, they're so evil and bad, and I'm going to cancel them right the dingle dang now, what if I instead took a step back and considered that perhaps the reason that Trump supporters get so vicarious in their support for a system that oppresses them is that they constantly feel more and more disenfranchised by a society that is changing more and more to a liberal landscape, and in a way they feel left behind by the current political climate. Perhaps rather than looking at someone who constantly goes with Democratic parties, someone who sides with that, rather than immediately assuming that they're evil, instead consider the other viewpoint, that perhaps from their point of view, they have been oppressed for years and continue to be so. Rather than look at the looting that's going on and immediately disregard the entirety of Black Lives Matter, instead take a step back and say, well, perhaps we need to consider the implications that maybe the reason these people feel the need to get so vicarious in their protest of racial issues is that they feel that they've been constantly trying to bring this message and get this message across to people, but constantly find it ignored and really ridiculed by the mainstream. Recently, a good example of this is Chris Pratt, social media being kind of attacked by people because basically he didn't get involved in some Avengers voter initiative because he doesn't like being political, and whether or not it's because he sides with the more conservative view, I feel it's kind of irrelevant and shows the blatant disregard for humanity by cancel culture in both sides of the field. Whether it's from the conservative side or the more liberal side, it seems like the concept of cancel culture, rather than engaging with ideas and trying to present one's ideas in a way that kind of shows off the good and bad of each, instead they just go all out and say, all right, well, if you think that, then we're gonna have to get rid of you. I don't think cancel culture is that big of a problem, to be honest, because every time you turn around, when someone gets canceled, you find that most people on social media don't care. I remember there was someone on TikTok post a video saying, oh, South Park is getting canceled on Twitter for this. And it's just like, I realized that cancel on Twitter really doesn't mean anything. You can cancel a show on Twitter, and all it means is that a lot of people on Twitter are using the hashtag saying cancel this, and then nothing happens. You know, South Park, this TV show, isn't going to be taken off the air in the same way that Chris Pratt isn't going to lose his job as freaking Guardian of the Galaxy because he didn't get involved with the Avengers Vote Initiative, or, you know, James Gunn ended up getting his job back, because at the end of the day, people don't care that much about ideas that differ from their own unless they're really, really bad. Typically, the mainstream of people want to be understanding. I strongly believe that. I think that we're just pitted against each other because it's just the easy thing to do. It's easier to buy into the concept that one's party is always right than to consider the implications that maybe we need both sides of an argument in order to make it, and that maybe our idea isn't going to win out in the end. And I think that's really what being a free thinker is all about. When I went from more conservative minded to more liberal minded, I found that once again I had to question every single thing I was assuming now. You know, I found myself jumping to conclusions when it came to my own beliefs as a more liberal minded person, and when it came to people who differed from me, especially when it came to the talking heads, the Ben Shapiro's of the world, the conservative talk radios. I found myself incredibly ticked off and wanting to cancel some of these people on the internet. But after a point, you have to kind of take a step back and be like, maybe I'm not giving this person enough credit. Maybe I need to look for the humanity in what they're saying. Maybe they're feeling disenfranchised too. Maybe they feel like victims in this. Maybe I need to hear out what they had to say. Doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with them. Doesn't mean that I'm going to change my mind. But I probably will. I'll probably change my mind a lot. It's very interesting having a worldview that, rather than sets camp up in one or two sides, is kind of fluid in kind of a non-binary sense of the word. It just kind of goes in between different viewpoints rather than going all for one. It goes like, well, we gotta question every single issue because gosh dang it, we don't know anything. We have to figure it out everything for ourselves. It's all up to us. Anyway, that's just some of my thoughts that have been going on a lot here recently. I haven't made a video in a while, so I felt very pent up, not going to lie. Hope you guys got something out of it. Feel free to cancel me in the comment section below. And I will see you guys soon with another video. There's at least one more episode of Internet Police coming soon. I have a couple planned. I recorded a couple. They didn't turn out very well. I didn't like them. So I got rid of them. But I have a couple that I really want to get done. So hopefully they turn out good. And hopefully you guys enjoy them. I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye.